Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. We're back with another Tower of God full spoilers, episode 156 upwards. I'm hoping to do a 5 episode on this one here because we have Jin Sang Ha in the past experience of the Slayer of Fug. So there is quite a bit to actually talk about here, and there is one or two tests involved in this whole thing, which I will give some spoilers to, right? So we see these two are following the big team, and they're following them and they're picking up the pattern of the entire Hell Train. So the bosses during the day and the bosses during the night, how it's easier to move during certain times, and how difficult it is. So we see that they given some instructions. They must add to the same number, bottom to the right, and you get it. These are number games. A lot of people don't know how these work, but basically they number puzzles. You move numbers around to get your perfect sequence, but the whole idea is that you have to see what's already in place and notice what needs to move. It can be very difficult or it can be very simple depending on your ability to analyze patterns. And yeah, we see that everybody here is really struggling. So yeah, we see they're heading towards the 36th floor testing area stage. The whole idea behind this is they need to get there so that they can actually move on to the next stage of the Hell Train. Now, one of the things you should note is that when White and Balm join the teams respectively, their progression is far faster than would be necessary for reaching the stage that they reach at the end of the passage. So what happens is that they have excess amounts of time and they can go through. What they can do in a full month, Balm or White can do in a day or two. That's the reality behind it. Just 1 or 2 days of passing tests and they're already far enough for it to count for them to be able to go even further. And here we go with Jinsang Ha. Jinsang Ha is the big piece of lore in this whole section. Jinsang Ha is one of the top rankers of the tower. He is in the upper echelon of the higher rankers. He is a direct descendant of the Ha family and a direct descendant of Arye Han. Not Arye Han, White's father, White's father's brother, so White's uncle. So yeah, he is a direct descendant from both families, giving him some crazy power. He is a technician, that is his fighting position. So we see that Jin Sung Ha has never heard of the Slayer nominee with this name, Hakwin. However, he does know of White. There's one guy that comes to mind. Although this is only my guess, the one they are trying to wake up may be someone very dangerous. If it's the one I'm thinking of, things are going to get messy. So now here's the funny thing, right? Bam is outside of the control of Fug right now. So Fug should be leaving him alone so that he has a reason to join them later on. Remember, they can bring him in by force, or they can bring him in by choice. And by choice, all they've got to do is give him enough reason to come back. So that is what Jin Sung Ha was hoping for. She is the one who is forcing things over here. That's why I don't like Warrior too much at this point. Right, later on I'll enjoy her a bit here and there where she pulls off some heavy moves with strategy and skill. Bloomer Guardian, oh okay. Okay, so we see they're attacking at weak points and they hit him in the jaw. Hit him with the low blow. Low blow is a dirty move. It's called a dirty move because you hit a person in their weakest spot possible. The reason why a lot of people don't actually go for low blows in combat is a lot of people who are super strong generally don't fall down from a weak point blow. They just infuriate themselves and they fuel themselves on pain. So you generally don't want to tick them in that way. Although it can lead to your victory down the line, like they can only last like about 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, you don't want to just go for that blow against somebody who actually is controlled of that type of pain. So here we have White. Now White is one of the sons of the Ares, the Arya family, right? They are swordsmen in the tower. They have a unique skill when it comes to using the sword that allows them to bend it with the space. So what they actually are doing is they're using a wave control type skill to move their blade through the air. It's more like a Shinsu blast than an actual sword strike, but they are actually moving a physical object. White, on the other hand, does something even more complicated. He turns souls into his blade, so it isn't a regular Shinsu quality. This is something similar to what Daniel does, so that is something that Bam can copy. However, the natural skill of the Arya family is what is very difficult for Bam to replicate. That is the ability to make the sword show up on different sides of the person in question. You don't try and block a hit, you just try to endure it, as the advice that's given to Kunran when fighting the Arya family, right? The next thing that you should know about the Arya family, especially with Hakuin and his brothers, is it's Hakuin, Vincent, David, Anna, and I'm forgetting what the last sister's name was. Uh, I don't remember her name properly, but I do know that when she shows up, she's an amalgamation of all the souls who not Bam, who Hakuin has eaten as white, and that is why her original character is actually dulled out with all the souls, and that is how her personality is formed. In the end, all of them end up merging together to form White later on at the final station. However, White doesn't have his full power because most of the souls were granted to Bam. This, in turn, gives Bam the power that makes White a high ranker, and it shockingly enough does not erupt from Bam. Bam has an even greater store of power, so he can do even more crazy things with it. He can also heal his body faster or create weapons with the souls. So yeah, that is another crazy thing to talk about. It's also the same power that the administrators have, called the Colossal Soul. So yeah, that is something else to note about the power that White uses. The spell that's being used requires a demon to seed one of the vessels, and that is the main core of the being who will be formed. However, when White was defeated by Bam, White hid away in shame within himself, allowing Vincent to come out and take over the body. Now, here is the big catch. Once the ritual has been sealed, they cannot be unsealed. Even though Vincent may want to remove one or two of his brothers from his body to give them their freedom, he can't do it because at the end of the day, they don't have that type of freedom when they find out that they're already bound to a centerpiece. And we see that White threatens Waryu not to give his real name. And we see how small White is and why he is such a scary monster. Tiny guy making big noise, yeah, really bad. But what they don't know is that his soul was split down into multiple pieces on the train. So the big version that they met of him was stronger than the current version that they see on the train. And here we get the Train City original. I've already spoken to you about this in a spoiler, so I'm going to skip it. Sachi actually has his own special spoiler, and when we see Sachi, I can actually spoil that for you properly. You can see there's Poro, the guy who's piloting the HAL train. And there we go. We see the whole situation that erupted with White and Ruina. So we see White is hungry and he wants to feed on souls. He's really desperate to do that. Okay, come on. Why is it taking so long? I am having some technical difficulties. I'm suspecting that I know what's going on. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so here we go with everything about to hit its climax. If something does happen that's big, I will definitely start giving spoilers again. I've spoiled most of the story. I've explained the backdrop of who makes up White. However, I haven't spoken about White's motivations because I think that's important for later on in the story. And yeah, I've already explained how White uses his attacks and that it can go in weird angles and directions depending on the wielder's world, because it is actually a form of Shinsu Blast that is taking a physical weapon and transforming its space, which is crazy to imagine, and that his blade is even more crazy because it doesn't actually have a physical makeup, but it is made up of souls, making it more uncontrollable. Now, on the side of what's about to happen with Kun, Bam, and Rock, they're about to take on Jin Sang Ha. And here's the thing about Jin Sang Ha. Jin Sang Ha isn't even going to use um, any Shinsu to fight these three, right? And here's the thing: he's old, and as I said, he is in the top 10 rankers. He has extreme Shinsu resistance. So even if they used attacks, it wasn't going to work on him. They need an opera to hold him for more than a second, right? And that is the real catch with this guy. Reverse flow control would work on him, but not for long enough for it to actually be meaningful. So we see they decided they're going to try to outrun him. These three regulars can use Shinsu to boost their speed. Woof woof woo! That statement should have sent chills down anybody's spine. And there's it. He punches Quattro and Chang. That was not bad. Like Quattro. Yes, so Quattro is obeying. He's cool. Throb, throb, throb. And there's it, he was infield of the lighthouse and transported away onto a ship. We see that he's actually impressed with what they did. They were smart. And we see that Wagner and the rest of that team are worried about how powerful White is. So yeah, here we go, the big finish. Hell Train Station, Wooden Horse. Now, there are multiple stations throughout the tower. I don't know what the 36th floor station looked like or what it was exactly. But here's everything that I do know. On the 35th floor, it's Train City. On the 36th floor, it's something else. Then it's the Wooden Horse on the 37th. The 38th is. Let's see. I'm not sure if the 38th or the 39th is the Name Hunt Station. Then there's Mushroom City. There's another city in between those two. And then there's the Floor of Death. I'm not 100% sure on all of them. And straight out of the Floor of Death, heading on to the next station, is the final station, and that's where the train stops. Honestly, it's the easiest way to progress up the floors. And if you jumped out of the train immediately when you reach that next floor, you most probably would have had the fastest way up the tower that anybody could have. But once you've passed the Floor of Death's promotion test and you're up onto the higher floors, you actually have an easier path available to you, moving to even greater heights in the tower. And every time that it reaches a station, the station is enough of a pass for you just to board at that station that you can move on to the next level. Passing the floor passing test is only necessary for those who are on the train or those who have already been on the train to pass, because getting through a station with higher level regulars is considered a pass to get to the next floor, because basically it's like taking the floor test times 100 on difficulty. Remember, there's rewards from each of the tests and there's rewards from killing the guardians. So yeah, those things really do help big time when you are on the train. So these stations are also a sanctuary for regulars. Rankers can't interfere with them on their sanctuaries. So there is another thing for you to note. On each one of the stations that are related to the Hell Train, the regulars who enter are given special treatment based on their tickets. When the train is moving through, the ticketers can come on and off at each of the stations, although each of the stations pose their own set of threats. So if you jump off at the Name Hunt station, you can have your name stolen and become a slave. If you keep yourself on the train and you jump off on the Floor of Death, you can end up totally lost on the Floor of Death unless you have somebody who can fly or grapple you back to the Hell Train. So yeah, that is a crazy thing to note on the Hell Floor. Remember, the Hell Floor stay, if I'm correct, is 3 days, because the Name Hunt station is 2 days, and as you go up, the stop at each station gets a little bit longer by a few hours or a few days. Okay, so here we go. Everybody's talking and they're getting ready. And here we have Sachi. Sachi uses the thorn spell, and for that day he had to sacrifice his eye. This allows him to bind anything with the spell. Now spells are really unique, and amongst the top three we have Sachi Faker. Sachi Faker is nobody compared to Balm, right? You should understand that Balm is still ridiculous. But in the top three, let's see. There's Kesa and the Lopobia princesses. None of those higher than Balm are really a threat to Balm because of how ridiculously strong he is. And I hope that you have noticed that these last five have been incredibly long episodes. And this is where the story really starts dragging as we're about to get onto the heavy drags. Get ready for it, because here comes the heavy parts of the story. There's going to be spoilers about each of the family representatives that I'm going to give in this next section. They aren't 100% spoilers, and they could be more based around theory than 100% of a spoiler. And the reason for this is that in the next section, we're going to have a lot of conflicts that are going to revolve around what happened with the 10 great families. We're going to come to understand that each of them did a revolution on the train, and that each of them went through the rice pot. The rice pot, yeah. If I'm correct, that's what that place is called with the God of Guardians. And we'll find out that this is where they developed their skills as irregulars. Then later on the Hell Train, we'll find out about how some of them developed technologies to help them go even further with their Shinsu qualities. And we then find out how far Kun Edwan went with his abilities. There is something to note. The fact that Balm matches Jahad at this point is not something trivial. The original climb that the 13 warriors went through wasn't a fast climb. It was a slow climb. They managed to interact and learn and train as they went up the tower in slow pieces. Balm's travel up the tower is ridiculously fast. Yurik Mazino's I think it's 100 years is the fastest ever to climb up the tower. Comparing Yurik Mazino to the 10 great families, he's most probably about 3 times faster than them. And that just goes to show his particular power. And Balm is about half of his speed. So, no, sorry, not half of his speed, twice his speed. He's gaining more and more as he's going up the tower. So we also have that to think about when we're comparing each of the irregulars. Yurik was also quite powerful at this point, and he was actually a little bit further ahead in time than Balm is right now. Also, we have to understand that if we want to compare them on the amount of time they spent in the tower, Balm at the nest is equal to Yurik on the train in terms of time. Within that 10-year difference that they're going to have in their catch-up period, that is where Balm versus Yurik have that slight variance in power. That's how come Yurik is so ridiculous at this point. When he entered, he was a monster. Balm was also a monster. Just Balm didn't know that he was a monster. And later on, we get to see just how crazy Balm becomes when he finally starts unlocking his powers through the thorn. Now, I thank you all for watching. Have a good day and catch you all in the next one.